where links lie and where content lies is it's going to be all about authority. It's going to be about authoritative links. It's going to be about authoritative content and the content written by authoritative personalities and leaders and all of that tracking through. That's going to be the only way to sort of separate mass-produced faceless AI content. It's going to be the only way to make sure that the sources being quoted are real, genuine people. And then I think if you can tie all three of those elements together as a business, then you should do well.
Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part, you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free. And now, back to today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaaS SEO Show. I'm your host, George Cassiodis, and today I'm very happy and excited to be joined by Chris Panteli. Chris is the co-founder of Linkifi, a leading Haro link building agency that offers done-for-you services with a focus on affiliate authority, niche, SaaS, and other online web properties. He helps clients vastly improve their domain rating, traffic, EEAT, and SERP positioning by securing the best links on the web. Chris and I are connected for a while now from a mastermind in Cyprus, which was a very intense experience for me. I don't know about you, Chris. And I'm very happy to be joined by a friend today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So as we do with every guest here at the podcast, we ask them, the first question is about you and your journey. So could we start there? A few things about you and how you end up doing what you're doing today with Haro and Linkifi.
Yeah, sure. So I graduated from university with a degree in business economics, then immediately went into the family business of running a fish and chip shop for 13 years. And then as we approached getting towards the pandemic, I'd started like a small personal finance affiliate site, started to get some traction, some traffic, was making some money. That's when I came across my business partner. We became friends. He'd noticed that I'd built some pretty solid links to that personal finance website. And I'd outsourced some work to him. He asked me if I'd be interested in building some Haro links for some of his clients, which I did. And then we started to notice there was a pretty big demand for that because Haro is really labor intensive. So we started to take on a few more of his clients. And then we decided that let's turn this into a proper business, which we did. That's when Linkifi was born. And then it just grew to the point where I was able to sell up my shop and do Linkifi full time. And I've never looked back, George. It's been great.
Okay. I know you miss this fish and chips, though. I would miss them. I don't know about you.
Not at all.
No? Okay.
15 hours a day on your feet, working in a hot, sweaty environment. No, it's not the same.
Yeah. I don't know, but every person I've spoken to, and they have experience with restaurants and food, like the food industry in general, they all, say the same thing, that it's very difficult there. It's very, and also, I don't know why, but it's very, most people say that it's very stressful as well, right? Working in a kitchen is not easy. It's a tough job and it's very stressful. Anyway, that's, that belongs to the past. Now you're running Linkifi, which is an agency that specializes in Haro. For people who have never heard of Haro before, can you please, explain what Haro is, how it works, and what is your approach to Haro at Linkifi?
Okay, so Haro stands for Help a Reporter Out, and we use Haro as an umbrella term to talk about PR requests. So that's answering journalists directly. Haro being the biggest provider of this service, where journalists and freelance writers can make requests for articles that they are producing on behalf of normally very large authoritative publications. What they're looking to do is source expert commentary to bolster the stories, the articles that they're writing, and they want to take expert commentary and quote those people within the articles that they're producing. And while it's not an SEO play, it's, you know, these are journalists and writers. Normally, they will credit that sourced quote with a link, and then if they don't, there's strategies you can use to try and get that done. But as SEOs or, you know, real businesses, SaaS businesses looking for links, Haro is a pure white hat, editorially earned backlink or media mention, because there's no exchange of funds. It's just you are answering the journalists, or if you use an agency like mine, we're doing that on behalf of you, in your name. You know, once we've onboarded and understood you and your business, and then we answer lots of different queries that are, you know, either specifically related or at least loosely related to your industry, to your niche, and then we will answer those queries at high volume in order to try and win the quote in that journalist story. And that's essentially what it is.
So it's a pure adding value to get something in exchange kind of play, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's no other sort of link building like it. You know, you're not exchanging anything. You're not offering something to them for free that can, you know, other than your expert commentary. So if you can position yourself as a leader, as an expert in your field, then if you can provide commentary that journalist thinks is interesting, offers a unique perspective or an authoritative perspective on what it is that they're writing about, then you've got a very good chance that they will quote you. And then you've also got a very good chance that within that quote, they will give you a link. It's 99% of the time it's a homepage link. And there's a 50-50 chance it'll be follow or no follow. But these are, like I said, often the biggest websites in the planet. You know, the websites that you've heard of: New York Times, New York Post, Guardian, Daily Express, The Sun, Forbes. These websites are the ones that you want to try and get links on. And you can almost never buy these links because, you know, it's journalists, not SEOs, that are placing these links within their articles. And sometimes you'll get quoted by a journalist that links to you, and then it gets removed by the SEOs as it's going through the editorial process, which is annoying, but that's the name of the game.
In your experience, is there a certain stage at which SaaS companies, and any other company for that matter, should like invest into something like Haro link building? I mean, is it okay if an early stage, you know,
I would, yeah,
do Haro, or should it be that you need to find the product market fit, you need to like be sure about what the product is, what the product does, or it's irrelevant, you can do it no matter the stage, whatever?
Yeah, I think with these links, because it's just it's completely white hat, it's completely like news and press links, that it really doesn't matter. And I think you should start as soon as you can. And one of the biggest benefits of Haro, it's sort of a precursor to pure digital PR. So rather than engaging in like a reactive PR campaign where you're purposely reaching out to media in order to try and get visibility for your brand, this is a way that you can just answer relevant journalist requests with expert commentary and try and get your the personality of representing that SaaS company featured, and then obviously trying to get that link back to the SaaS company website. And it's perfect for building out that press badge, which is what we need to do in this day and age with, you know, mass-produced AI content. Authority, it's all about authority and building those authority links and having on the, you know, the front of your page 3 or 4 big websites that you've been featured in. And the best way to do that is with digital PR, and the easiest way to do it is to start, I'd say, with Haro or a done for you Haro service, just to get those first 5 or 10 massive links that you can showcase on your front page, that's where your website, your business has been featured. And I think you can start that day one.
Is there a time or a typical time frame for a Haro like campaign, or is it something that a company needs to do in perpetuity? Like you need to do it, just you need to do it as you do content, as you do other activities. You need to do Haro. Or is it that what, we kind of got 20 mentions, we exhausted all the relevant publications in your like niche or category, and now there are not so many other opportunities. If we get other like mentions, it will be in these same publications. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Well, first of all, I would say the time frame wise, it all depends. We are at the behest of the publications and their editorial calendars. We won a link recently, an absolutely stunning link for a travel client on tripadvisor.com, which is obviously absolutely massive domain. And I think it was from the first email exchange where they said, we'd like to quote you, to that going live, I think it was about 4.5 months. So it took a long time, that one. Some campaigns we wrap up, if it's a 5 or 10 link order, we can wrap up in 3 or 4 weeks. If it happens to be a niche which is seasonally relevant at the time. So last summer we had a couple of barbecue affiliate sites, and it was barbecue season. So as you can imagine, that's what everyone was talking about. We wrap those up super quickly. So I would say your best bet is, if you've got budget, allocate budget to it, get started with it, because it can take a long time. It can be relatively quickly. I mean, we have deliverables on what we say 3 to 4 months, I think, on the 2 smaller packages, 5 months on the 20 link package. And we always finish before the times, but I'd never say never, because obviously it all depends on that particular SaaS, that particular business, that particular industry, and that particular time of year. In terms of exhausting the links, again, that all depends on the niche, and it all depends on how long you stay with us. So if you allocate budget over a long period of time, then SaaS is quite uniquely positioned in the sense that we can target two angles. So we would first look at what given industry that SaaS is in. So if it was like a SaaS that was something to do with fitness industry, let's say, then the best way to approach that is that we would have somebody from the company who was a fitness expert representing that SaaS fitness app, whatever it might be. And then we would be able to target all of the fitness queries and the fitness publications and the broader news publications that are covering fitness topics. There'd be a healthy number of links there. And then also we would have a second profile that we would be pitching, and that would be from a business perspective. So maybe a HR representative of the SaaS company, or just, the founder themselves. And then that would open up all of the business queries as well. So that would be a really good, healthy number of link opportunities that could last, a while.
That's very interesting, because, one of my next questions would be, who should be representing the company in this process? And I guess that you explained that already. I mean, you need to find someone who is like hopefully an expert in what they're doing, right? And they supposedly can kind of represent the company and kind of create content that has chances of getting media mentions. And then you can also have other people from inside the company, as you mentioned, like the CEO or an HR person or whatever, to represent the company in different kind of categories, right? I like that.
That's the best way to. What you've got to do is you've got to open yourself up to opportunities, and you've got to see opportunities where others wouldn't. Because if you're a SaaS company, then you run an email marketing SaaS, let's say. If you're just looking through Haro and PR requests and only answering specifically email marketing related queries, you're going to be answering one query a month and you're not going to win any links. So you've got to think about how you can broaden the scope of expertise within that single company. And they're there. You know, if you've got a tech guy who's responsible for building out the tech, if he's, you know, super well educated in coding or whatnot, then there are lots of, especially currently, AI-based queries, cybersecurity queries. If the guy that's coded the SaaS or has worked on, you know, as a dev for the SaaS, if this guy's got credentials, then journalists will quote him because they want expertise. It doesn't matter that the SaaS is specifically an email marketing SaaS. If we see a cybersecurity query on cnet.com, and this guy's got cybersecurity experiences, we can pitch that journalist to answer that cybersecurity query. We've got a good chance of winning the quote, and then we've also got a good chance that they'll quote Joe Blogs from the email marketing SaaS answering the cybersecurity query, but they'll link back to his SaaS company or his author bio page on that SaaS website, which means that SaaS website wins the link, but we've gone outside of the specific topic of email marketing, and we've broadened our opportunities.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's say that you have a person from the company and you have, you know, broadened the scope of like what the company can answer and what the company does and so on and so forth. And you get a request. What comes next? Like, do you ask the person to write a quote, or is this something that you do and you pitch it on behalf of that person?
Exactly. Yeah. So we do everything. It's hands-free. With SaaS companies, we're a little more stringent on the onboarding. So we'll take more information on, you know, how it is that they want us to position their company, any topics that they want us to avoid. Unfortunately, Haro isn't something, is one of the roadblocks we've ran into. And I think me and you actually had an exchange with a potential client. And a roadblock that we do run into is that they do like to sort of pre-approve. And that's just not something that you can do with Haro, because we've got to send those emails off as soon as the request comes in.
Yeah.
But having said that, you can put the trust in us that we're never going to position your company badly. It wouldn't benefit us. Like, all we're going to do is try and answer that query as best we can with our team of writers and our research. And the chances are, normally for larger publications, they're quite broad, the questions. If it's a cybersecurity question, let's say, it might be saying, you know, what are some things that you can do to protect your computer from a cyber attack within a company? Recommend a couple of tools, let's say, or a particular process. So that's going to be something which, you know, the guy who is the main dev at the SaaS company isn't going to mind to have said, because it's going to be, you know, accurate and it's going to result in a backlink.
Okay, that makes sense. Can I ask you though, are there any cases, any topics when you say that, you know what, this is way beyond our level of expertise. We can't like source a good writer to write about that? Because as I hear it, it's like it's a lot of content creation and moving fast and grasping the tone and like the style and the tone of voice and like brand that you're representing. So in that context, are there any topics that you simply don't touch because they are very niche, they're very technical, difficult, even, you know, I don't know, you may have other implications like legal and so on and so forth that, you know what, we can't touch that, like we can't talk about these topics?
Well, we don't do CBD gambling. We don't do those topics. We do cover health, but we have a medical professional on the team of writers. And then anything else this is one of the key things that I think is important to remember about Haro, is 95% of the time, the journalists are not looking for new revolutionary ways of thinking. Although they want an original perspective, what they're looking to do is leverage the expertise of the person that they're quoting. So if you're having an article written on a major publication about an in-depth topic, the writer themselves, the journalist themselves is the one that's formulating the complex ideas within the story. So what they're looking to do within their story is to have a quote which backs up maybe a small point within their story from a proven expert, be it, someone with cybersecurity experience, the lead dev that we're using as our example from the SaaS company. So the questions aren't normally, within that very difficult realm. They're more quite, they're answerable, and it's the journalist that's looking to leverage the perspective of the expert rather than to fundamentally research the core elements of the article they're producing. They're doing that. They just want to be able to, for example, if a journalist is writing a piece on, the SaaS industry and how the SaaS industry is changing, they're putting all of those complex ideas and, interesting elements. But what they would love within that is a small quote from you, George, that just says what you've seen recently in the past couple of months with SaaS since AI has come on the scene. And that's something which we can answer on your behalf quite easily, because really, if it's a good answer, if it's an interesting perspective and an interesting angle, a good use of the English language, maybe a really interesting turn of phrase within the quote, then they want to quote you because you are an industry leader in the SaaS sphere. You've got a podcast, people know you. That's what they're looking for.
That makes sense. Is there, and I think that this kind of puts things in perspective, meaning that as I was like, I'm not familiar with Haro, so I thought about it as the journalist really tries to find a solution, let's say, or an answer to a difficult question, but like the way you put it and how I perceive it now is that the journalist is the one who is going to deploy all these ideas and complex things, and is ultimately the one who is going to give the answer, right? All they want is this extra something on the piece, on the article, and this extra something comes in the form of a quote, which shouldn't necessarily be like an innovative idea or anything like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You do get queries that are looking for that, but that's quite rare. They fall into a few different brackets. You might have a product recommendation query. You'll have an expert commentary on a news event, which again is normally just backing up what the writer's opinion already is. And you'll have personal experience as well. You'll have personal experience requests. So that would be, have you personally experienced anything around this particular topic? But the bread and butter of the queries is expert commentary on answering a relatively straightforward question with a slightly unique and interesting angle and tone. Yeah, you're right. So that the author or journalist that's deploying the article can just beef their article out with some really well-placed, authoritative quotes from, industry leaders, thought leaders, people with credentials within that particular industry.
Are the journalists kind of do they do a research for you? I mean, will they search for that person, and will they actually see whether this person can speak for this topic, or whether they are just like a fake persona who supposedly knows about this topic, but in reality they don't exist? So
yeah, it's becoming a lot more stringent with the onset of AI produced content. It was a lot easier to even win journalist requests for fake personas, which we've done in the past, but it's becoming now that basically you need a real LinkedIn profile for the person that we're quoting, and if that person has got expertise and credentials, then normally that's pretty easy to verify, and journalists are verifying now. We offer another service which we call our Haro service. So this is the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, and that is just source an expert yourself. So if you've got a SaaS company in the health niche, let's say it's some sort of health related SaaS, then either you can do this on your own, you can use our strategy, or, you know, we offer it as a paid service as well, where we would source either from our small network of existing writers that we've got at hand to do this with, or you can source yourself somebody with credentials, an MD, you know, a doctor, a nurse, ask them to produce 3 or 4, 5 pieces of content for your website, put that content on the SaaS website, on the blog, under that person's authorship, and get permission from that person to pitch Haro under their name. And that's normally quite an easy sell, because that person will normally be a writer and either a current or a previous professional in that given field. So often it's really good to find retired doctors, retired surgeons, because they will have turned their hand to sort of freelance writing, and that will track through on their LinkedIn profiles and their sort of web history. And if they're trying to, you know, bolster their own freelance writing career, then as a sell, you're just saying to them, you know, first of all, I'd like to pay you for, you know, 5 pieces of content. I'd like to put your byline and your authorship on our website, put them down as a sort of a senior content producer, or, you know, a senior editor for the SaaS blog. And then you're telling them, you know, I'd like to pitch Haro under your name, if that's okay, or I'd like to do some media PR outreach. All the quotes will be, you know, well written, researched, and then you that will hopefully link back to our blog. But that's something which you can then tell, you know, other people that you've been quoted in, you know, The Guardian, The Times, the BBC as a freelance writer. So it's quite an easy sell for them, and then it does wonders for your website.
I may be a bit naive, but I didn't know that people do these things. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Are there any other best practices that you have for people who are listening to this episode or watching it on YouTube, and also mistakes that you see people do when it comes to Haro?
Yeah, well, best practices. Yeah, there's quite a lot. If you're going to do it yourself, then experience is going to play a role. Like, it's going to get easier and better for you. But I imagine that it's going to be someone on like an SEO, with an SEO background. So you want to not be wasting your time pitching bad websites. That's the first thing to do. Unfortunately, Haro isn't like 100% curated. So stuff will slip in there that's nonsense and crap, and you do not want to waste your time pitching these websites, because they're garbage, they're junk. So you can just use your basic sort of DR and traffic metric as a first port of call. What I would also say is, for any given specific industry, you should probably know the industry leading websites within that niche as well. So definitely be targeting those. So if you're in, you know, the real estate industry, then you want links from Realtor. If you've got a gardening SaaS or a gardening business, you want Homes and Gardens and British Home and Garden, betterhomesandgardens.com. If you should also know the websites which everybody's heard of. So like I said, Guardian, BBC, New York Times, New York Post, you know, pitch these websites, because if you've heard of them and they're household names, then, you know, they've got big DRs, they've got millions, tens of millions of organic monthly traffic. So you want to get these websites. Outside of that, look at DR and traffic as a first port of call, but don't solely rely on these metrics. You will see websites on Haro that have got a high DR, low traffic. Most of the times that means it's a junk website. Sometimes it means it's another SaaS website that's, you know, a real business, a solid business that just hasn't itself got much organic traffic. So I wouldn't rule that one out, especially if it's well aligned to your industry. And then you'll start to get to know the journalists. You'll start to get to know the publications that link, that don't link. You'll get to know the publications that forget to link, and a simple follow-up email with a journalist a week later will turn that unlinked mention into a link. You'll start to learn the publications that will give you a no-follow link, but if you email a certain editor, you can get that turned into a do-follow link. So this is what can take you from, you know, winning 1 or 2 okay links in a given period of time to winning a basket of really good links once you start learning the tips and tricks of the trade, as it were.
And I guess some of these things are reasons why someone should, you know, come and seek professional help. to someone like Linkify instead of doing it themselves, right?
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, how do you see, at the time of this recording, there is a lot of buzz around AI content, and of course, we will see where the dust, how things will be when the dust settles, right? Because right now, I shared a post on LinkedIn yesterday. It's Wednesday, May 10th, the 10th today. And I did this post yesterday, and I said that, you know what, it's one of the greatest things about AI content is that, like, most people are so obsessed about it and finding the next big prompt or whatever, and they forget the basics, right? While there are brands who like grow and get great results, actual business results, right? By, doing the basics, keep doing the basics, right? Great content, great design, great experience, great links, and so on and so forth. And so, but at the same time, there are some things that change, right? And I guess my question is, how do you see what you do today changing in, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, whatever? And the horizon is much shorter because we all thought that, yeah, things will change sometime in the future, like in the next 5 or 10 years. But we see that, no, things change fast, Yeah. And so how do you see things change? Because I expect, like many other things, Haro to become kind of the Wild West in terms of like fake personas pitching using AI content, and like how do you see this thing that you do today change in the next 6 to 12 months or even beyond that, given the fact that we have this rise of AI content? And not only, because that's just one aspect of it. What if you have fake personas that make decisions like by themselves, right? Kind of like auto GPT, and pitch journalists like it's
independently.
going to be the Wild West for a while. But I would like to hear your thoughts regarding that.
Yeah. Well, whatever I say now, no doubt will be way off because, yeah, like you said, it is impossible to keep up with it. I remember a year and a half ago thinking, AI is going to be trickling in 5-10 years. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it's just gone nuts. So the way that we see it going, probably in terms of where links lie and where content lies is it's going to be all about authority. It's going to be about authoritative links. It's going to be about authoritative content and the content written by authoritative personalities and leaders and all of that tracking through. That's going to be the only way to sort of separate mass-produced faceless AI content. It's going to be the only way to make sure that the sources being quoted are real, genuine people. And then I think if you can tie all three of those elements together as a business, then you should do well. So if you have a real industry leader, CEO representing your SaaS company, if you have real human produced, beautifully written, researched, undeniably not AI written content with, credited to have been written by a very knowledgeable source. And then if all that is met with very authoritative links, non-paid for, white hat, Haro press links and digital PR beyond that as well, then I think that is going to be the competitor of the AI stuff that's winning. I think it's going to be a race, a battle because of how much can be produced on the AI side. But I think it will stand true and test the test of time, the quality. I think it's going to be quality and authoritativeness. That's my view. And I think as Linkify, I think we're here to earn you those links. You come to us with a real business, a real persona, an expert, then we can legitimately win you media placements as that expert, and then that will tie your whole strategy together.
I don't know about people who are listening like to this episode, but I'm sold. I don't know. I would, I'm very interested in seeing how this thing works, right? So I'm sold. You mentioned digital PR. What are your thoughts regarding? And I know digital PR is kind of an abstract concept as I see it, because every person has their own kind of interpretations and ways of perceiving things. What is digital PR? How is it connected to what we are discussing so far? And what do you plan to do on that end moving forward?
So yeah, I think digital PR is going to be ultimately the best strategy for building links, because every other link now is just a paid link insert request. No sites are open to linking for free. So I think if you want to earn real media coverage in the biggest websites, then a digital PR strategy. And like I said, Haro is a precursor to that. So Haro is it's the low-hanging fruits of pure PR. You are directly answering a journalist request. So the journalist is specifically saying, I want this. I need this expert commentary. Who's got it? If you've got it and it's good enough, then you can win it. That's it. So digital PR is, reaching out to journalists with a unique idea, a unique story, on the hope that it's interesting enough to get picked up by big publications, many publications, and then hoping that you get the link, and you do that enough times, and hopefully you get a big influx of links from an interesting story. So you could position that, like I said, if you had a PR, if you had a SaaS company in a broader niche, like a health SaaS or a fitness SaaS, then you could onboard a fitness instructor for the website, or a doctor or an MD. It doesn't even need to be that. You can actually borrow the expertise of other real doctors and have them produce like a story for your company. So if you had a health SaaS, you can, as part of a PR strategy, we could hire a doctor to review some statistics that we might have put together on health trend searches around this new crazy TikTok health trend, let's say, and then we could throw that out to the as a PR to an email list, saying that this study has been produced on behalf of this health SaaS under the authorship of this doctor, and then you would hopefully win links that way. So I definitely think no matter where we go with the Google algorithm, with ChatGPT, AI search, wherever that's going to go, even if links in the next 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years become irrelevant, if Google becomes irrelevant, which is unlikely to happen, but who knows with the way everything's going, then I think being aligned and associated with big, huge branded websites or publications, which are unlikely to ever go anywhere, is always going to be good for your business. So that's where Linkify is making sure that, if links isn't a thing in 10 or 15 years, then you're still going to want your CEO or your business to have been featured or quoted or covered in the biggest websites in the world, the biggest publications in the world, because that's going to show authority, and that's going to be what wins the race.
That's all very interesting. And I think that this allows us to, as I see it, we came full circle, and this allows us to start wrapping things up. But I'm sure that there are so many other things that we could discuss around that. And as you were answering this last question, I was like, okay, this could be a topic for a webinar, right? Because now we do webinars at Minusia. So if you are on board, we could do a webinar regarding Haro and digital PR. I think that this was very insightful, and it's the first time we discuss, after 70 plus episodes, first time we discussed Haro so extensively, on the podcast, and with someone who has so much experience as you. So I know I learned many new things today, and hopefully people who listen to this episode or watch the video version of it learned as well. Last question I have for you, Chris, CTA, for our listeners. Where can people find out more about you and get in touch?
Just the website, linkify.io. You can email me directly, chris@linkify.io. And then if you want, George, I can throw you a discount code as well, which you can offer your listeners. So we can offer them a 20% discount on any of our packages as well.
Let's do it. Let's do it, and we will communicate it as well. That's great. That was great.
Yeah.
And I really mean it. That was great. Thank you very much for your time, Chris. And looking forward to follow-up discussions, great discussions like this one.
Yeah, thanks, George. Yeah, I'm up for a webinar. And just on a final note, I think an answer to the AI, because obviously you guys are producing content, we're producing links. I think definitely the answer to fight the 1,000 page sites which turn up, in a day is perfectly produced, great content married with beautiful white hat authoritative links. I think that's going to be the thing to fight the AI content with, and that's going to be how we get to the top of the SERPs above them.
Couldn't agree more, and we will keep advocating for that. As I mentioned, right now there is a lot of buzz, and we will see where the dust settles in the next, few months / few years, but we will keep pushing towards this direction. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, George. Thank you.
Before you go, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part, you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free.